You know, we won't play a game in the NBA for another 4 months, but this is actually a really consequential weekend in the association. You see the free agency tracker as we make our way to the big day. A couple of big names. Woj is going to be here in seconds to talk about it. Let's get into it with LeBron opting out of the final year of his contract with the Lakers, making him a free agent. What could be on the table for the King here in just a second? And then also Paul George declining his player option north of $48 million. There are many in basketball that have said this is sort of the ripple effect player. What happens to George could really impact what happens to many others looking for a big payday as free agency is now, fellas, hours away.
Yeah, and Z, you said it. The aforementioned Adrian Wojnarowski joins us here on set. Woj, Zubin mentioned it. George declining his player option, so there's no opt-in and trade scenario for George anymore. What is likely to be Paul George's plan?
Well, Paul George, Sunday night and then Monday, he's right now planning to meet with 3 teams: the Clippers, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Orlando Magic. Both Orlando, Philly have max cap space available. He's been talking with the Clippers for essentially a year about what an extension would look like. They have not moved off of a 3-year offer. That's what they got Kawhi Leonard to sign, 3 years and less than the max, around 153. They'd like to keep Paul George in that neighborhood. So far, that's not been good enough to get him re-signed. That 4th year is important to him. That's going to be available to him in Orlando, and it's certainly available to him in Philadelphia, where, you know, it is a ready-made lineup to slide him into with Tyrese Maxey and, of course, Joel Embiid. And the Sixers believe they would certainly be able to make up some ground on Boston in the East with Paul George in their lineup.
And George was healthy this season, played 74 games, and of course they're opening up the brand new dome there in LA. A lot to talk about with the Clippers. And then of course there's LA's other team, Woj, the Lakers. Big week for the James family, where LeBron also opted out of the final year of his deal. What kind of flexibility can a new deal for LeBron give the Lakers?
If LeBron's willing to take about $20 million less than his max number in the low 50s, it will open up the Lakers' ability to use their full mid-level exception. That's about $13 million a year. And what Rich Paul told Dave McMenamin, our Lakers writer today, was that LeBron's willing to do that if they can attract a high-level impact player to that mid-level exception. And you look at the free agents available, 2 perimeter players, Klay Thompson, James Harden, Jonas Valanciunas, a center from New Orleans who's available in free agency. Hard to imagine you're going to get any of those 3 guys at the mid-level. They'd all have to take less to do that. Harden can go back to the Clippers for at least double that. And, Klay Thompson, I think his days in Golden State are over. I think it's very clear tonight. It's been heading toward that. But there are going to be sign and trade possibilities for Klay Thompson where he'll be able to get a bigger number annually than that $13 million. I'm told Golden State is very eager, willing to work with Klay Thompson, help him get to a place, see if they can get some value back. They want to do right by Klay Thompson in that way. So it's going to be difficult for the Lakers to attract that player. I think Klay Thompson, Harden, they all have an affinity about playing for the Lakers. But at the stage of career both of them are, financially it might be a significant difference. Dallas is interested in Klay Thompson. That would be a sign-and-trade scenario with Golden State. And obviously that's a team coming off the NBA Finals. You could certainly see they need shooting, and you could certainly see how Klay Thompson would impact the Mavericks.
A lot of options out there. I know you're almost on the clock, right? 6 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. Teams can begin negotiating with all free agents.
NBA free agency being felt all over the league right now, but especially in LA after 2 of the city's brightest stars decided to opt out of their contract. We'll start with LeBron. He gave up his $51 million option with the Lakers, but his agent Rich Paul says he's willing to re-sign with LA below the 3-year, $129 million deal for which he's eligible if the Lakers can use the full mid-level $13 million exception to sign an impact player. As for Paul George, sources tell Adrian Wojnarowski that he declined his $48.7 million option with the Clippers in order to enter the free agent market. Sources also tell Woj that PG plans to take meetings with the Clippers, Sixers, and Magic beginning late Sunday and Monday. George is eligible to sign a 4-year deal worth at least $212 million. Well, for more perspective, we bring in the aforementioned Adrian Wojnarowski. And Woj, let's start with Paul George. He's from Southern California. He said repeatedly he would love to win a championship in his hometown. So why even take these meetings with these other teams?
Paul George has had a year to negotiate a deal with the Clippers, that he wants to take, and they've gone back and forth. Certainly in the last several months, Kawhi Leonard got his extension done, 3 years, less than the max during the season. Paul George wasn't ready to do that, and now we are into unrestricted free agency. He wants that 4th year on his contract. The Clippers have not offered it. And certainly, he's looking at that Clipper roster and asking himself, too, are we a championship contender? All those factors. I think being in Southern California, being part of the Clippers as they go into the new Intuit Dome, I think those are things that are still very appealing to him. But Philadelphia out in the marketplace, Orlando to an extent out in the marketplace for him, can offer him that 4th year. And Philadelphia certainly, is there a clear path in the Eastern Conference to try to win, although you still have to be able to go through Boston. Philly sees Paul George as a player that can help them get through the Celtics.
All right, well, let's go back to LeBron now. He says he's willing to take less money if the Lakers can use the mid-level exception and sign an impact player. Some of the names of the impact player we've heard: Klay Thompson, James Harden with the Clippers, Jonas Valanciunas potentially. What's the likelihood, though, Woj, that the Lakers could get what LeBron is asking them to do?
It's going to be very difficult. Number one, there's not a lot of impact free agents in this class, but you just named 3 of them. James Harden, he could get double that to return to the Clippers. And Klay Thompson, I think it's very clear his days in Golden State are over, but the Warriors want to help him in a sign and trade situation, perhaps the teams who don't have the cap space for him, to be able to get a bigger contract. And if the Warriors can get back some assets in that, they're more than happy, and they're going to be on the phones tomorrow trying to help Klay Thompson do that. Essentially, LeBron James would have to take about $20 million off what will essentially be about a $50 million annual salary to get the Lakers to that $13 million mid-level exception. And then you've got to get someone to take it. But the idea is if they can't get an impact player, and this is what Rich Paul told our Dave McMiniman today, then LeBron will take the max. So it's a great gesture. It certainly gives the Lakers, some opportunities, to try to improve themselves. I think it's going to be very difficult to do. I won't say impossible, but I think it's going to be really difficult. You're going to be asking some guys to take far less than what may be available to them elsewhere on the market.
Maybe LeBron has to be the best salesman that the Lakers have if they're going to get that impact player at the mid-level. Much more from Woj and his phone over the next several hours. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks.